Dr. Monique Felter to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Shepherd is at a Leadership Nashville meeting tonight, and I just want to take this opportunity to wish Dr. Joseph a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
And we are going to sing happy birthday, so please join us.
It's Music City now.
That's right, it's Music City. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Joseph. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
We'll have cake afterwards. So let's go to 30 seconds in my district. Did you start with that?
Okay, I sure will. Granbury has become the first elementary school in Davidson County to start a Best Buddies program. The first meeting was held last Thursday, and over 50 families participated. It was great to see the many parents and students with disabilities making new friends. They look forward to the movement of this program and it growing throughout the district. Principal is Chad High.
Thank you, Dr. Brannon. Ms. Froeg?
Well, I'd like to announce that Walk to School Day will be October 4th, and I will be walking to school with Dr. Joseph, the birthday boy, from 7:30 to 8 a.m. at Charlotte Park Elementary. And also, I'm excited to announce that the Parent Advisory Council, our PAC, is, we have a new and improved version that the district is working on. There are a couple of meetings coming up, and we would love to have parents that want to be involved attend the meetings. One is Thursday, September 28th, at the Midtown Precincts at I can't talk tonight. At the Midtown Precinct at 1443 12th Avenue South from 6:30 to 7:30. And another meeting on Tuesday, October 3rd from 11:30 to 1 at the Family and Community Engagement Center at 3703 Charlotte Avenue. And really want to encourage parents to get involved because parent voices are such an important part of the work that we do.
Thank you, Ms. Froeg. Ms. Hunter?
Yes, I'm going to quickly review the timeline for Eagle View rezoning. August the 31st, we held a public meeting at Cane Ridge to present the draft plan and received public input. On September 12th, we considered input from the public meeting. And September 26th, we'll present the draft plan at this board meeting. This is only for informational purposes. October 17th, we will have a public board meeting and an opportunity for the public to comment. And October 24th, board vote on rezoning. And in November, we will send families a formal rezoning letter.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Hunter. Ms. Buggs?
I had the pleasure of attending a partner meeting at Inglewood Elementary School last Wednesday because I'm finally able to eat again. It's been wonderful. I've been eating everything. But I was really excited to hear about the cultural shift that they've been able to make. At this point last year, they had suspended 64 students. At this point this year, they have suspended 5.
Wow.
So I think it's safe to say that their restorative justice practices are definitely being implemented. They are being implemented with fidelity. And you can definitely tell when you go into that school that the school that you may have heard about 10 or even 6 years ago is not the same school that's there today. So major shout out to Inglewood Elementary School. Another one of the major thumbs up schools, Fall Hamilton. They had a major shift last year when they began reading, both as a faculty and as a student body. Those 7 habits of a something.
Successful person.
You knew it, yep. And so it is a regular practice for those students to be in discussion in their classrooms and to kind of resolve their issues by talking about how effective that they're going to be through what they've learned through the book. They've continued that, and they'll have a partner meeting tomorrow for anyone looking to be involved. They also are looking for pumpkin donations. They do a lot of just different things to support their families and support their students in very innovative ways. So if you have an extra pumpkin lying around, around or have a few dollars you'd like to donate, please feel free to visit Fall Hamilton and donate. This past Friday night, I was joined by a few board members, Dr. Joseph, a few central staff members, as East High School opened up their stadium. It was packed there. It was a fun time was had by all. I had to leave early, so I hope they won, but they were kind of trailing when I left, but still shout out to East Magnet High School and all the support that they have from the community. Last night, we kicked off the Academies of Nashville Hub thingamahoozits. It was fun. It was interesting. I got to witness it at Whites Creek when they had visitors today come into the school and talk about what they hope to see in their cities when they try to take this back to replicate what we've done with our academies. And lastly, STEM Prep. I appreciate you all keeping me abreast of what's happening there. They have a lot of good partners this year. They have a food pantry through Second Harvest. HCA recently did a volunteer community day and painted their gym. And both their middle and high schools earned level 5s on the TVOS, and the middle school is top in the state. So please remember all the schools in our district, but shout out to my schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. Dr. Gentry, would you like to give us 30 seconds in your district?
30 seconds. So I would just like to congratulate John Early for their opening their exhibit on the 60th anniversary of the desegregation of public schools here in Nashville. The students did an excellent job of giving the presentations of each of the displays at the multiple stations. It is located when you enter the school off to the right. So if you get an opportunity to go and visit and do a walk through that gallery, it would be well worth your time. There were several individuals there who are leaders in the community that are looking forward to hosting receptions there throughout the year. So if you do get an opportunity, please stop by and you will be pleased. And hopefully you'll be able to get one of the student docents to walk you through. They were highly articulate, very impressive, and it was well worth the time.
It was very impressive. Thank you, Dr. Gentry. Congratulations are in order for Hunter's Lane and Sue Kessler and her staff for the TVOS scores for the spring of 2017. Comparing the 12 high schools, zone schools, Hunter's Lane was the highest performing in chemistry and U.S. history. And they were second place in English 3, Algebra 2, and third in integrated math. So we appreciate the hard work of our teachers and staff. Go Warriors. And as Ms. Bugg said, the Academies of Nashville study began last night and will continue through Wednesday, September 27th. Approximately 370 people were there last night and from across the U.S. and the United Kingdom. And since 2011, 3,390 have visited from across the U.S. and Canada to see our studies, to see our academies, and learn about our small learning communities. So we're very excited about this work that we're doing with our academies. So now we will go to Nashville. The good news is for Nashville Tools for Schools. Come on up to the podium. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Bill Ferris, and as representative for Nashville Tools for School, I'm here with my partners sitting over here in the front row and second row. First, Dr. Joseph, I gave you a birthday present. You've got my carpenter pencil up there for you. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen. I will say that Dr. Joseph is the first school superintendent to come visit us. We've been in existence for 12 years now, started 2006, and since 2010, we're fully not-for-profit organization. Our mission is at the most basic level is to furnish custom-built, little to no cost furniture projects for the public school system. Our annual budget is probably just under $40,000. The cost of each project is just the cost of materials and maybe a little markup for screws, nails, glue, and such not. We charge no profit margin. We charge no labor cost. All our volunteers are not paid, and 90% of our income goes to the project materials and supplies. 25% of our projects are paid for with grants, saving the school a lot of money. Typically, the grants come from, we're fortunate enough to have the Nashville Predators Foundation for 2 years in a row have given us money. Schneider Electric, North American Fund has given money. West End United Methodist Church and Woodmont Christian Church. The grant money is typically saved for economically disadvantaged or our priority schools. In the last 5 years, let's see, we got who's doing the slideshow? We got some pictures of, I am, thank you. Nah, I'll just push the button. That's good enough. What the heck? I know how to use a hammer, but not technology. All right, the little bottom corner is what our shop looked like, and y'all gave us a wonderful building at TPS campus when we used to be at Hillsborough High School. We got displaced. It's working out just great. And the bigger picture is what we've done to the location, and we're functioning just perfect. The next picture, you'll see the first one is McGavock High School. It's a courtroom that we did for them. In the bottom left is the J.T. Moore display cabinets, Purpose Academy, hanging all their little backpacks. Fall Hamilton, I mean, we've done a project for there. Antioch Middle, that was a really low computer station for some of the lower grade school children. Granbury, we have done so many projects for Granbury.
Thank you.
I mean, they are big supporters of our program. Pearl Cone. Now, I want y'all to take a look at the upper left one. I'm proud of that one. The biology teacher came to us and said, I need a mobile demonstration table for the biology class. And she gave me a sheet of paper out of our approved vendors list, and it showed a picture for $1,900. Well, our organization went to Habitat, got that cabinet, and for $1, we bought all the little knobs and everything. We found a marble slab at Habitat. We found a broomstick to hold the mirror at the top. And if you can look real close, the mirror is being held up by 2 crutches turned upside down, metal crutches. We charged her $450 as opposed to $1,900. First thing she said was, I want another one. And we did another one for like $300. Okay? Antioch High School, Bellshire, Andrew Jackson, Explore Academy, Granbury. See, Granbury. The Madison Middle School, they came to us and said, we want an outdoor classroom. So we made these benches and the podium you see in the distance. The benches are now designed where the writing surface will fold up, where it's got a backrest for the choirs that they want to use. And the assistant principal said, I got a real problem. The teachers are fighting to use it. We want another one. So we got an open house October 24th, and we do hope y'all do come see us. In the last 5 years, I know I only got 5 minutes, sorry. In the last 5 years, we have performed the following work. We have served 98 schools. We have completed 338 projects. Antioch, who's got Antioch High School?
Thanks.
Okay. Next time you're over there, go into the ladies' basketball locker room. We built all those, and the men's. So that's one project, 22 or more units that we made. You saw the Madison Middle School. That was 8 units for that one project. So we've done over 600 units. You see the tennis balls in the bottom of the chairs? I've got the country clubs giving me the tennis balls, and we cut them and we give them to the schools free of charge. And once one teacher gets her room done, the floodgate opens. We've given just about 9,000 tennis balls in the last 2 years to the school systems, free. In the last calendar year, school year, we completed 60 projects in 31 schools. Earlier, I mentioned that we're all volunteer, no paid staff. Based on the number of volunteers working each week, over the last 5 years, we've contributed over 24,000 hours, and at a modest wage of, say, $15, assuming, per hour, we have contributed $350,000 in free labor. Upcoming goals, we want to let all the principals learn what we can do for them, their teachers, and their students. When the principals and teachers learn about Nashville Tools for School, we will experience a much greater demand than we have now, and we will increase the volunteer base, and we'll increase our days from 3 to 4 to 5 days a week, and we are committed to doing that for you folks. We hope to hire an executive director and find the funds for that, and we're dedicated to making these goals work. If anybody got any questions?
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And last, to you, our school board members, and to the school board staff in here, please let us know, how can we help you? Thank you.
Schools are just like,
Just the public school systems. Now, we do public school systems and charter schools. Now, sorry, I will tell you, we got to thank Joe Edgens. He was so instrumental in helping. He's retired now, but he knows everything about the buildings. And Joe Vanderveen's retired. He would ever pick up our products when we finished and deliver them to schools. Now we have Richard Sawyers, and he's doing a masterful job. And Mary Pierce is not here, but she really is who I reached out to first when we heard Hillsborough was going to be redone, and she has championed us all the way, and we want to thank her very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. The next item on our agenda is the music students, and they will be here around 6 o'clock tonight. So we will be in a work session at that time, and we're going to take a quick recess when they arrive and then reconvene after they finish their presentation. So we'll move on to governance issues. Dr. Brannon.
Yes, the consent agenda reads as follows. Approval of minutes for 8/15/2017 and 8/22/2017 meetings. C, recommended approval of supplement number 1 for Martin Luther King Jr. Magnet High School additions and renovations, Phase 2, Bauer Askew Architecture, PLL. D, awarding of purchases and contracts. 1, Blackboard Incorporated. 2, Educational-Based Services Incorporated. 3, Pomeroy North America. 4, Robert J. Young. E, legal settlement claim C 35590 in the amount of $8,000. F, legal settlement claim C 35651 in the amount of $3,000. G, legal settlement claim C 35369 in the amount of $48,000. H, legal settlement claim C 35607 in the amount of $3,000. I, legal settlement claim C 35346 in the amount of $15,000. J, legal settlement claim C 35557 in the amount of $6,000. K, legal settlement claim C 35324 in the amount of $19,000. L, legal settlement claim C 35556 in the amount of $16,100. M, legal settlement claim L 16298 in the amount of $15,000. And N, compulsory attendance waivers. Madam Chairman, I recommend approval of the consent agenda.
We have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hunter. All right, we don't need to have a discussion on this because it's consent agenda, so we'll move right on to voting on our iPads. And that passes. Thank you. Item number 2, BEP. Ms. Frogue.
So back in early July, I brought notice of my intent to bring a motion to join the Shelby County Schools BEP lawsuit. And a great amount of time has passed since I brought that motion, and we've had some recent discussions. Unfortunately, due to a death in my family, I've been able to attend those discussions. But we have a limited number of board members here tonight, and also, based on our most recent discussions, I want to provide a final opportunity for board members to ask any final questions and clarify any information that they may need to vote on this issue. So I am going to defer this vote to a later meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Frogue. So we're going to adjourn this meeting now and begin our second session, our work session. We have already established a quorum, and first item on the agenda is discussion with New Eagle View Elementary attendance zone. Dr. Joseph?
There. So the Cane Ridge cluster is crowded and still growing. Cane Ridge Elementary School, in particular, is severely overcrowded. To remedy this, Metro Schools is planning for a new elementary school, which is Eagle View Elementary School, nearby that will relieve overcrowding by moving students out of Cane Ridge Elementary School into Eagle View Elementary. The proposed zoning change would go into effect during the 2018-2019 school year, which is also when Eagle View Elementary will be completed. MNPS has been meeting with parents and neighbors to communicate the proposed changes, as well as to solicit input for the proposed rezoning. We held a well-attended August 31st meeting at Cane Ridge, as Mrs. Hunter shared in her update regarding the new Eagle View Elementary School and its proposed change. And tonight, Chris Weber will present the proposal to the board, and we'd like to provide an opportunity for public comment on the proposal at the October 17th board meeting and ask the board to vote on the zone at its October 24th board meeting. And again, Mr. Weber will share additional information with you at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph and board. I appreciate your time tonight. All of you also, in addition to this PowerPoint, received a written proposal that outlines the details of what's being recommended to you. And both this PowerPoint and the recommendations are published on the website and have been shared previously in the public meetings that we've held to this point. To get started, I want to just talk about the Cane Ridge Elementary School and the Cane Ridge cluster as a whole. Specifically, Cane Ridge Elementary is very overcrowded, 122% of current capacity. Cane Ridge opened in 2012, and since that time, the Cane Ridge cluster has grown by over 900 students. And so the cluster continues to grow with the school being very overcrowded. So it was in 2015 when Metro Council approved capital funding to build a new elementary school to help relieve overcrowding. Since that time, we've been looking to buy land, and the current school, Eagle View Elementary, is currently under construction, which will open in 2018-19 next school year. The recommendations that I will share with you tonight propose that we split. The current Cane Ridge Elementary is just over 1,000 students in current enrollment, and the proposal is to roughly split the enrollment in half at each of the two schools. So the process we've came to develop the proposal is it really starts with community feedback and meeting with the community. We've been doing that for a couple years. We're here tonight to present to you this just for information purposes, to get any feedback you have to offer to us, and then it will be October 24th when we'll ultimately ask for your vote to approve the plan. We've had 3 previous community sessions with the Cane Ridge community, meeting with them, the most recent of which was this August, where we had a very well-attended meeting and got feedback on the draft plans. The plans started back in 2016, and we've adopted them slightly just as the enrollment changes have occurred. But the August 2016 or the August 2017 meeting that we recently had is the same boundaries that we're currently sharing with you tonight. So if there's anybody that attended that community meeting, they were generally supportive of the recommendations, and so nothing has been changed up until this point. So anytime we develop a rezoning plan, these are the factors that we look at. We look at the facility use, where there's overcrowding. We look at both short-range and long-range enrollment projections. We consider the district's diversity management plan, and we seek to promote and sustain diversity where that's possible. We consider the natural geography, such as the river, streams, streets, layouts, and neighborhoods, to make a reasonable proposed boundary to keep families together. And we also look at future development. And through that process, we then share it with the local community, as they know their area better than we can at the district level. So they look at it to make sure that they tell us that the recommendations are reasonable. So the map that you see on the screen now shows the current Cane Ridge cluster. It's a little hard to see, but Cane Ridge Elementary sets right here to the eastern side of the cluster, and it's a real light blue, so it's kind of the outline of this. That's Murfreesboro Road on the eastern side. On the south side of the Cane Ridge cluster, that's the county boundary, and as you come across the county boundary, it comes up and then follows up Nolensville Road, but this is the Cane Ridge cluster. The only rezoning we're going to be discussing is specific to Cane Ridge Elementary School. So as this map zooms in, that's Cane Ridge Elementary. You see right where I'm circling. And the new Eagle View is real close to the Hickory Hollow Mall. And so Eagle View is right here. I'll zoom in next to show you an actual site plan. But the recommended boundary is to take the north section of the current Cane Ridge Elementary area. And the green area is what we are recommending to rezone into the new Eagle View Elementary. To walk across the east edge or the northern edge is following a creek boundary. That's why it looks a little bit irregular. That's the current boundary. And then it cuts Rice Road is this boundary here, followed by Meadowwood Apartments is an apartment complex here, and then it follows Rural Hill Road and then comes down to Bell Road right here. And so as it comes up Bell Road, there are Hickory Manor Apartments which set close to Eagle View, and those are inside the proposed green area for Eagle View. The boundary comes just behind Eagle View School, and then we'll come down to Franklin Road as it follows the western edge up I-24. And so that's the proposed boundary. This is the site plan for the Eagle View site. And if you're familiar with Bell Road, this is Bell Road, and this is a Thornton's gas station, which is a larger convenience gas station, and the school sits pretty much behind that, if you're familiar with that area. This would be the proposed 2018-19 cluster map for Cane Ridge, with the green area being the Eagle View Elementary Zone. Both Eagle View and Cane Ridge we're proposing will continue to feed into Antioch Middle School. So none of the rezoning will impact middle school or high school families. There will be no change to the cluster boundaries or to the middle school zoning, which means that we really want to limit the impact and the changes on families. The following chart just talks a little bit more about the capacity concerns and highlights Cane Ridge, where you can see that it's currently 122.8% of capacity. The enrollment is currently 1,019 students with a capacity of 830 students. The proposed rezoning, this talks a little bit specifics about diversity, but before I get into the diversity, just notice the population. We're taking the 1,000 students and roughly splitting them in half. And one of the important points is that we're leaving plenty of room for both schools to grow. We know that the Cane Ridge area grows in fact, when Cane Ridge Elementary first opened, it opened with 787 students. And that school became overcrowded rather quickly. And so that's one of the complaints that we've heard from the community. And so when we're recommending the rezoning for Eagle View, we're leaving room for both schools to continue to grow and develop a program that's reasonable that best meets the needs of the students in the area. When you look at the diversity, the entire Antioch and Cane Ridge area is very benefited by the diverse population there, and so are the schools. And so Cane Ridge is currently a plurality school, meaning that there is no majority race of the student population. And when we rezone the school, Cane Ridge will continue to be a plurality school. Eagle View will be very close, not exactly, and these estimates simply take the current students as if all of them would be reassigned and attend that school next year. And so we maintain the diversity as best we can while following the most reasonable boundaries with the community. Whenever we do rezoning, the school board typically adopts a grandfathering clause. And what that does is that allows children rising into the highest 2 grade levels of their current school to remain there. So if families are currently in the 2nd grade at Cane Ridge, they would be able to stay there for 3rd grade or for 4th grade and not have to be reassigned with the rezoning. But anytime the rezoning and the grandfathering is implemented, parents are typically responsible for transportation to their current school. I'll mention later in the PowerPoint, but one of the questions that came up in the community meetings was about younger siblings too. And so it's important that we share with families that if you have an older child that's eligible for grandfathering, we will also allow, if they have younger siblings, for the younger sibling to also stay at the same school so their family's able to attend the same school and not be split schools. So just a brief summary of what the current recommendations is that we drafted the plan with feedback from the community. The plan seeks to rezone students closest to where they live and will help to address traffic congestion at the current Cane Ridge Elementary because the current student population is so high, there's a lot of traffic congestion in and out of that school, and this will help alleviate that. With this, both schools will be left with plenty of capacity to help continue to sustain the future development that we see occurring in the area. And both schools will retain a diverse student population, and we recommend the school board continue to adopt a grandfathering clause. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have.
I just want you to tell me, I'm sorry, the entrance to the school will be, is it from both sides, Bell Road as well as Rural Hill Road, or?
Believe it, honestly, I might need that. Are you familiar, David, to that? So eventually it will be, not necessarily when it first opens. Baby Ruth. And I can flip if it's easier to see on here.
The developer, as part of their final approval by the Planning Commission, are required to extend the road over to Baby Ruth and into that adjacent subdivision. So it eventually will occur by the time the school opens in August.
And you can see on the site plan, this is Eagle View Boulevard that comes in where the school site is located, and this is Baby Ruth Lane. And so that's the road where David is suggesting that they'll be connected with that development.
So Baby Ruth Lane intersects with what? What road is that?
Baby Ruth Lane dead ends, but Baby Ruth Lane comes down here. I think that's Mount View Road that
Mount View
intersects.
Road.
It connects.
Yeah, so some of that same traffic that goes to Cane Ridge Elementary, is that kind of, okay. Gotcha.
Ms. Bugs, did you have a question?
No, I guess my only question was, and I think you addressed it, Ms. Hunter, is that since you all have already spoken with community members, I'm assuming that they've addressed programming concerns and making sure that if there is that there are pathways in place. So if this is a STEM school, or that the middle and elementary schools match what's offered at the high school?
So the programming came up during the public meeting, and part of the questions was, when will the principal be selected for the new school? Because that will kind of start to set the tone for the academic programming. And we hope and expect for that to be hired before the start of the school year to allow the principal to be in place, but I can't speak to all the specifics of that.
Other questions?
Done a good job of communicating this to the body at large, so.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mr. Prophet, as well. All right, our next item is MNPS Next. Dr. Joseph?
Sure. At our August 23rd board meeting, we finalized our work on exploring the feasibility of moving fifth grade to our elementary schools, primarily because the cost was prohibitive. At that meeting, we agreed to examine and model by October 2017 short-term solutions tailored to address immediate needs to help us better manage our school capacity, enrollment, academic needs, and our social emotional supports. So tonight, we'll share some information regarding student enrollment trends in capacity utilization. How many of our schools are significantly below their capacity? And we have Dr. Dana Carlisle, Mr. Chris Henson, Mr. Chris Weber, and Mr. Ryan Latimer here tonight, and they'll share the trend data with you for discussion, reflection, and guidance.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
We've had several conversations over the last week to 10 days, but I wanted to start this evening with a quick recap so that we're all on the same page regarding the purpose of MNPS Next. Then we'll go through the updated enrollment information and capacity data, some of which is revisiting it. You've seen it at different junctures, but we now have updated data. Look at the data on the undercapacity schools, and then talk about the next steps between now and the next board meeting. And we do want you to ask questions and have dialogue and give us some idea of what direction you'd like us to head in. So we went down the road of looking at the quality of academic programs, student access to high-quality academic programs across the district, learning environments that provide academic and social and emotional supports to our most at-risk students, parental perception about safety and security and developmental appropriateness of middle school grade configuration, student flight from the district, better utilization of space, and student mobility. Those are the 7 reasons we really delved into looking at charging forward with MNPS Next, I should say, and then, but specifically starting with looking at the feasibility of whether or not we could move 5th grade into the elementary schools. The goals are improve student outcomes, increase resource and fiscal efficiency, and increase market share and desirability. So we're keeping those 3 pieces. They're not of equal weight. We really want to look at what's best for students first, and then double-check the fiscal efficiency piece, as well as attracting and retaining students to and in MNPS. Low and declining enrollment, evolving demographics and gentrification, and then the fiscal realities and constraints that come along with an urban school district, and one that is changing as much as MNPS, are things that drove us to look at this work as well. As you know, we looked at the feasibility of moving 5th grade, and we drew some conclusions about whether or not that made sense. Primarily, we concluded that the fiscal realities associated with moving 5th grade to our elementary schools, regardless of which scenario, meant about a $300 million price tag, and the board directed us at the last meeting to move on and consider other alternatives. So the things that we talked about doing at the last board meeting included these 8 pieces. Tonight, we're really here talking about number 2, 4, and 5, and number 2 looks at examining and modeling by October 2017 shorter-term solutions that are tailored to address immediate-term needs to help us better manage elementary and middle school capacity. enrollment, academic needs, and social and emotional support. So as you know, there had been September community engagement meetings tentatively scheduled. We're in the process of rescheduling some community engagement sessions for October. And we're also, in an ongoing way, continuing to find ways to improve student access to comparable extracurricular and academic program offerings, regardless of where students live and what kind of transportation they have access to. So those are the pieces governing the work that we're going to be doing and coming back to you with by October 17th. We have values that we've all articulated, but the three that really seem to govern this project focus on equity, the whole student, as well as excellence for all. We've talked about our strategic plans theory of action, and this really highlights the fact that improving student achievement, improving student academic growth, and closing achievement gaps. In order to do that, we have to look at equitable access to quality programs, and we would do that by promoting active student engagement and consistent improvement in academic achievement. Those are the pieces, again, that relate to our approach to this particular project. Some of the particular action items in the strategic framework had conducting a district-wide assessment of school programs, capacities, facilities, and grade configurations to improve student equity, fiscal efficiencies, enrollment, and academic achievement. So this is reiterating what we just had broken down into goals. And then also looking at where there are inequitable student enrollment patterns, basically in related arts, quality academics, and in advanced academic courses such as Encore, AP, IB, Cambridge, honors, et cetera. So those are pieces that we're continuing to look at as we consider what we do in this phase of work of MNPS Next. Just a reminder, we have 7 annual priorities that we've articulated as a result of the strategic planning process. And under performance management and operational efficiency is where the MNPS Next project falls, and then equity and access really has to do with school choice. So again, just trying to take you back to how this links back to the work that we did all last year. So with that, what I'm going to do is share with you a couple of, you have received a report that summarizes where we are with our projected enrollment. I'm going to go through some high-level data points relating to this. Ryan's going to go through some high-level data points relating to
Maybe I got off the hook.
No. And then we want to make sure to get your questions answered.
Okay.
What was that?
Before you come back to the podium.
All right. Thanks, guys. I believe you've seen or were given a larger detailed analysis, and so tonight I'm just going to kind of go over some highlights, and then I can answer any questions after that. The one thing I also wanted to point out kind of at the start is the trends that we're going to go through compare largely day 40 data for historical, and then this year we only had day 20 data to go with. So they will change slightly, but I don't expect any major things will change when we get updated information. I wanted to say that this is, since 2001, this is the first time that total enrollment has gone down. The district had been growing through 2013 at roughly 2% a year. And then it tapered off slightly for about 1.8% a year until 2016, where it was just 1%. However, during that time, the MNPS ran schools have seen an enrollment decrease since about 2014. We'll discuss that in a little bit more detail. And while the elementary tier has been decreasing, our middle and high school tiers have still been growing overall. And that's district-wide totals. The 4th grade is currently the largest grade level in elementary schools. And so we'll continue to see middle school enrollment increase next year, and then around 2019, 2020, we could see it start to taper off. Next year's kindergarten enrollment will go a long way towards deciding whether this is just a little blip and then that we'll be back increasing like we were, or if we're looking at longer-term decrease in enrollment. But overall, since 2012, our kindergarten enrollment has declined by 800 students. When it first happened, we thought it was due to the state law where they changed the registration dates for kindergarten, but it's never increased since that time. This just kind of wanted to say that I-40 largely divides Nashville, and those schools clusters that above it have been seeing a decreasing enrollment, and those school districts that are below it have seen an increase, with the exception of Glencliff, and Hillwood has been relatively flat until this year, and I think increasing apartment rents have started to impact that school district cluster. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Charter schools and ASD currently make up about 17% of enrollment in the district, and this could increase to 22% by 2021. That could be an additional 6,000 students. Some of that, I think, is unlikely to be met, but that's largely through adding additional grade levels and opening of 2 new state-ran KIPS, an elementary and a middle school. Tentatively, I believe they're selecting the Antioch and Cane Ridge clusters on where to locate those schools. I also wanted to say that while it's a little bit too early to tell, we're still reviewing demographic trends, but the early information looks like our ELL enrollment saw a decrease this year, and we need to study that further to see how that trend plays out. This is just kind of comparing the day 40 enrollment from last year. You can see that in total there were 86,633 students. We had projected a slight increase of 1.1%, and all authorizers came in a little bit under projection. For MNPS ran schools, that was roughly 950 students, and the majority of that was in preschool, pre-K, and kindergarten. And again, I think those enrollment numbers will come up a little bit when we look at day 40 data. And this just kind of shows that information in a bar chart. You can see that elementary school for MNPS kind of peaked in 2014, and then it's been on a little bit of a decline since then. The blue line next is the high schools. It's been increasing, and we expect in the short to midterm it will continue to do so as our middle schools have larger grade levels that will roll up. And MNPS middle schools started to decline in 2011 as more charter schools became available. And then the bottom 3 kind of lines are all charter schools, and they've been increasing, and we expect they will continue to do so. This kind of looks at it as a total bar chart or line chart. The green is total enrollment, and you can see where we dipped slightly this year to 86,152 from last year's total. The line in red shows MNPS ran schools, and you can start to see where it's tapered off. And the line in blue is charter and ASD. And then that just kind of shows it in a bar chart and quickly shows in 2014-15 where MNPS started to decrease in enrollment. And I think that's all I have, unless there's a question.
So we just wanted to give you a chance, an opportunity to ask questions, think about what steps that might imply for us to take. We can wait until you see the next part of the presentation to have the dialogue if you'd prefer, or we can get reactions right now as well.
Any comments? Mary?
I'll wait.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go through the next part that Mr. Weber is going to deliver, and then we'll have some dialogue after that. Thank you.
So just to begin, I'm going to speak to you a little bit tonight about schools that are low enrollment or are severely underutilized. Before I get into the specifics around those schools, I just want to kind of show you high level enrollment trends for our district, the size of our schools, and the capacities for our schools. And so this first chart shows you the high and low range for each tier level, so of capacity. So we have some small elementary schools, the smallest of which is 237 student capacity schools, and then they range as high as 830 students. I think that's actually Cane Ridge Elementary School on the high end of the elementary capacity. Again, the middle schools range as well. The projected utilization, or the current utilization, has a high degree of variance with it as well, where we have some schools overcrowded, not as many. In the next chart, I'll show you how many fall into each of these categories. But we also have more schools that are severely underutilized, that are less than 70% used. So this shows the range. And the number of schools, as you can see, we have 15 elementary schools that fall under the threshold of 70% utilization. There are 8 middle schools and 2 high schools that are under the 70% utilization, while there's only 3 elementaries, 1 middle, and 2 high schools that are over the 110% capacity and are overcrowded. So to dive into a little bit of detail around the low enrollment or underutilized schools, I'll share with you a map. I believe each one of you got a map in your handout. The map on the screen is a little hard to see, and if necessary, we've got some big plots that I've got back here. But you really just need to see these maps to see the high-level take on the trends of where these schools are located. And this map shows schools that are either 70% or less utilized, which are in a red circle, or schools with green squares are going to be schools with small enrollments of fewer than 400 students, which often require additional funding and resources to sustain an academic program of that small size. What you notice is that many of the overlap, where there's both underutilized schools and low enrollment, fall primarily in the north part of Nashville, in the Pearl Cone Metro Center area, slightly up into Bordeaux, and then also concentrated in the East Nashville and the Maplewood and Stratford clusters. While on the map you see some schools that are maybe smaller in size on the perimeters around the McGavitt cluster, these schools, or even in the north, these schools are not necessarily underutilized, but they are small schools.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, what does the green box represent again? I see schools requiring supplemental.
Yeah, the green box represents schools requiring supplemental resources. They're essentially, an enrollment is under 400. And the yellow triangle, it's just hard to see from this map. Really, on this map at this scale, you can see the red circles and the green squares where they overlap. But there's a total of 39 schools that fall into one of those two categories, of which 24 are underutilized 70% or less, and then there's 33 that have small enrollment. But the important characteristic is the 19 schools that have overlap of both low enrollment and underutilization. So not just considering the actual size and capacity, but this map starts to begin to look at the diversity data. And so it shows you what the racial ethnic diversity of these schools look like. And so you can see that a school with a red triangle is 70% or more African American in their student population, while the blue, and there's 17 schools in that category, while there's 2 blue triangles that have a white population of 70% or more. And again, Lockland is kind of an anomaly in East Nashville where it's predominantly white. It's at full capacity, but it's just a small school. And then you go up to Jolton, which also is predominantly white, but is a smaller school more to the northwest area. The next map shows you the location of schools based on economic disadvantage. And so green schools, there's 6 of those that you see, which again fall to the perimeter of the area, and there's 6 schools that have less than 50% of their student populations with economically disadvantaged students. Yellow, there's 23 schools where their economically disadvantaged student population falls between 51 and 75%. And the red schools have more than 75% of their students that are economically disadvantaged. And so again, you see that density of poverty is primarily in North Nashville and also in East Nashville around the Pearl Cone, Stratford, and Maplewood clusters. The last map that I have here represents the community achieve sites, and so these are schools that have additional community resources and community achieves programs. Before I get into the activity or the questions that I'll ask Dr. Carlisle to come up, I'll just explain to you that you should have received 2 additional handouts to accompany the maps. And the first chart is listing all of the 39 schools, and it's a detailed breakdown of the schools' diversity. And so you have their enrollment, you have the student demographics, both racial, ethnic, and the economically disadvantaged, the number of EL students, and the number of students with disability. Also indicators for the diversity management plan, as well as the facility condition index score. These scores have been updated by MGT, and the ones that you see with a blue shade, they're continuing to be reviewed currently by MGT and MNPS.
We have that handout.
We don't have that handout.
This was emailed in the board. I thought it was emailed previously, but
Okay, so it's not on the iPad.
Yeah, we don't have, it's been hard to follow.
in the last column, that when you get the report, the last column indicates the capacity and the utilization rate for these schools. And the schools are all sorted by elementary, by tier level, elementary, middle, and then high school. The second chart that Dr. Carlisle is providing is shows the academic performance for the schools. And so that's a very important characteristic as well to consider on the best approach to addressing the small and underutilized schools. And so the achievement data in this report provides you with the MAP assessment data from last year. It's 2016-17 achievement data broken down by school. And it's important to consider at the very bottom is the district summary. So when you're comparing the individual school achievement, compare that with the actual district as a standard. With that, that completes my section of the presentation, and we can move into the activity.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I know that's a lot of data. You did get most of it in advance via email, as well as the projection report that Ryan's section basically provided high levels on. Are there specific things that you think we should be looking at in terms of for 2018-19, for 2019, 2019-2020? This is where we're getting into another decade. Are there ways in which we would provide this information to the community or engage in community conversations? There's also, I know Ms. Pierce had a question from the first section, programs that you think we should consider, just kind of what comes to mind to you as a result of seeing these data and these trends?
Ms. Pierce, you want to start us off?
I'll try if I have to come back. Yeah, I mean, just in generally, this is big. Just to see overall the enrollment changes. And, you know, I think what I had asked yesterday, or just thinking through this, is what does this do to our budget implications as well, in terms of, we knew the charter pass-through was there, but we were probably not projecting on fewer than 1,400 students. I mean, declining, I mean, a decrease in that enrollment.
Right, so we projected a decline. We didn't project the significant decline. It was more than we thought, but it was also more than we expected across the board, across all
Right.
types of schools in Davidson County.
Okay.
One of the things that, there's a number of pieces we could speculate. Is it rising housing costs? Is it that the housing that is being built is different from the low-income housing that we have had that's not they're not necessarily family units? How am I doing, Ryan? Weird, right? Yes. Okay. And it could, how about you come up for a second? I know yesterday Ryan said something about the number of young people who had moved into surrounding counties.
With no kids.
Yeah, what I said yesterday was that in August, our transcripts department received over 2,000 requests for students that had lived at or went to a school here in MNPS last year to go to an out-of-county school. And so I don't have like a historical trend line, but that seems like a significant number asking for a transcript at that time.
In August?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and so probably as we go forward and looking at the use of our facilities, is there talk of consolidating some of the vastly under-enrolled middle schools?
My sense would be that that could be a logical next step that we would consider. There are different ways of looking at the data and looking at where it would make the most sense to do that, and that's certainly something that we can do and come back to you in October with.
Yeah, and I'll jump in and add on that. Like you said, it's big. And I think one of the things we need to do as a district is start looking long-term about where we want to go. One of the things we know we don't want to do is create, larger, more racially isolated, socioeconomically isolated schools. And when we look at the parts of town where we have the under-enrollment, if we're not thoughtful about a long-term strategy, we would potentially do that. So I think we have to have long-term conversations and a kind of philosophical discussion and perspective on where we want to go and how we want to broach those issues. Because again, it's easy to just say, well, here are two schools in this town, let's just consolidate them. And then we create a larger dilemma that we can't get out of, because we do know, that when you have schools that are socioeconomically isolated, particularly poor schools that are socioeconomically isolated, it's difficult to turn those schools around. So I think it's going to take time in whatever we do, and we need to really get the community engaged and help the community understand our vision for those parts of town and what we want to do. But it's going to take time, and I think we should take the time to really engage and really be thoughtful about how we approach it, because it'll have long-term effects for years to come.
Dr. Gentry.
So, and Dr. Joseph, I appreciate all of that. But I don't want us to leave this table thinking that it is a numbers game that the school board can manage or control. It's not a secret that our schools are a reflection of the communities that they're in. And so in the first part of the presentation, you mentioned how I-40 splits the city, and Mark North has had this history lesson, has probably given this history lesson. This is one time when I wish we had an Ed Kendall just to remind us that I-40 divided this city. And it just continues to remain racially and socioeconomically divided. And so, we can sit here and say, and I agree that it has to be a long-term strategy, but it has to have other voices at the table to contribute to that strategy, because if you look at, as Ryan has already pointed out, what's going on with the development, the housing developments, again, we're causing, that is what's really contributing more than anything else to the pockets of racial divide or low-income communities. And so it's a challenge to own solely the responsibility of ensuring that our schools have that level of diversity. And I will go so far as to say it's unfair. And so we can't own that problem. It's not one that the school system can solve, because we will be rezoning we got 80 people coming a day So if you do the math, we could be rezoning, every school year, trying to manage this numbers game. I would say that I think that we may have some, I know it was mentioned by by Chris, that the schools that are under-enrolled and just serving smaller and smaller populations of students are requiring additional financial support. So can you speak to what that dollar amount ranges from? It's not in here.
Well, while they're pulling that up, I'm sorry, I have to do a shameless plug and at least plug our communications department. They are at least beginning to market our schools better and do it, because I look at schools in my neighborhood, and we share Buena Vista, but a large chunk of Buena Vista is in District 5, and that's a very gentrified area. There is a housing complex going up next to me that was bought for $2.5 million. My grandparents bought the house that I live in for about $80,000 in the 80s. $2.5 million complex right next to me. So I look at my neighborhood that's pretty diverse, but nobody wants to send their kids to Buena Vista, and I don't know why. I mean, Buena Vista has a lot of support, but those gentrified, more affluent families aren't choosing that school. Then I look at Laughlin, that's in a very diverse neighborhood. They have Casey Homes right there. They have some very low SES families there, but this is the one school in the Stratford cluster that's predominantly Caucasian. So I think we've known for a while that we have to do a better job of marketing our schools and making sure that people know all the good things happening in them, that even when you see or hear something in the media where you hear about just scores or just anything that might be negative, that we make sure we give some context to these conversations. Because one thing that I will always say is that Hume Fogg, MLK are in my district and they are rocking. But Hume Fogg a couple of years ago was a level 1. They still had an average ACT score of like a 29. But again, they were a level 1. So what does that mean when we look at other schools that are level 1s and families use that to want to opt out?
Right.
So thank you. But
Yeah,
thank
and that
you,
was brought up
communications team.
yesterday about making sure we tell the story of the positive things. And so I'm not saying that we don't have a responsibility, not only in communicating the good stories, but ensuring that we offer high-quality opportunities wherever a family lives. So we own a part of that, but we can't say, it's not just if you build it, they will come, mindset that we can take if we don't get some help creating some intentional balance and diversity within the city and within the communities of the city. We can't do that on our own.
I agree. Agree.
To your question, Dr. Gentry, we have 22 schools with fewer than 300 students. And for those 22 schools with fewer than 300 students, through the student-based budgeting formula, we allocate an additional $7.7 million over and above their school-based budgeted amount. We also have 17 schools with between 300 and 400 students, and of those 17 schools, we allocate an additional $3.5 million. So when you look at the two together, obviously that's around $11.2 million that would be an additional allocation to those 39 schools that are fewer than 400 students, over and above their allocation through the student-based budgeting formula.
A lot.
Rogue. I guess I want to echo a lot of what's already been said. And when we're looking at improving schools, probably the most important factor is increasing socioeconomic diversity in the schools. Of course, all types of diversity important, but and again, that's a challenge because of the changing housing patterns and kind of a long history of some negativity around the school system. So I too am excited that we're beginning to share some of the positive stories. But I think the solutions are going to be varied according to the area of town. What might work in my area of town is going to be very different than what would work in North Nashville. And so I think we're going to have to be very thoughtful and intentional in the solutions that we propose, and that's going to involve a lot of community input. And, so in one area, it may be sharing really some of the positive outcomes we're already having. In another area, it might be increasing our community schools involvement and Community Achieves programming. But the other thing, so in addition to increasing socioeconomic diversity to really make an impact, we have had some discussions in MNPS Next. There is a great list of kind of evidence-based practices that do improve outcomes for schools. And I think all of the discussions that we have with the board and with the community really need to be evidence-based. We need to look at what works and figure out ways to implement that. And again, I think it's going to be, you know, the solutions are going to be specific to certain areas of town.
And that's where, when you go back to the beginning of the presentation, that intention to focus on access, opportunity, and strong program for the students who are currently in those areas, but also to look at how do we create more schools that have a plurality of kids in them, and that people want to, if they're living in the neighborhood, have their child attend.
Other question? Did anybody else?
Sure, go ahead.
On the page that we were sent by email that shows the enrollment growth by tier and operator, and then underneath demographic enrollment trends, on that lower section, is that inclusive of all of our types of schools? That is the entire district as well as charter?
Are you looking at page 4?
Well, I don't.
I know they're not numbered, but
It's third from the last. It has this bar graph at the bottom, and it has the
okay.
paragraph.
So, okay, I'm sorry, repeat your question?
Well-
Is that all schools?
Yes, it is. And we are in the process of trying to get that broke out for you on a school-by-school level.
Okay, or it doesn't have to be school by school, even just school type.
Yeah, that we're doing school type, and then on the other piece is all
Right.
school enrollment.
So as far as even engaging the community, I mean, that's significant that we've lost 450 African-American students. So could those be some focus groups to find out where are they going? The 200 that moved out of county, is it because of the housing changes? Is it because of an education service issue? So I think as we talk about how to engage the community, we've got a couple of sets right here that might be some good first attempts. Just to try to
I certainly think that engaging in, if we want to know why people are leaving, again, I would go back to Dr. Gentry's point. It would be important for us to do some polling and some really, clearly we know who the families are that asked for the 2,000 kids who are in other districts at this point. And I do think it could be worth asking that so that we know, is it us? Is it cost of living? Is it something else?
Because if we are seeing the cost of living, I mean, this is going to impact everything we do in the construction, the new schools that we open or that we renovate and expand, and asking all of those questions to make sure we're not overbuilding.
Does homeschooling play into this at all? Have we an increase in students who are being homeschooled?
Yes, over the past few years, we've seen a steady increase in homeschooling. Chris, do you have a current total for this year? I'm not sure if it's in yet, but we can get you a trend line on the homeschooling as well.
Thank you. And the two new KIPP schools that are scheduled to open in 18 and 19, when will they determine their new locations or their locations? Do they have a deadline for that?
I don't believe that they do, and I haven't heard anything on a firm location yet. Hopefully, we'll know sooner rather than later so that we can plan appropriately for the schools near there. I've just heard tentatively that they're looking for land in Antioch and Cane Ridge. I think one thing that they're running into is the same thing we run into when looking at land. It's expensive, and it's hard to find a site that's suitable for a school.
Any other comments? Questions? Yeah,
I do.
Mrs. Bucks.
So based on this information, you said that it is feasible to consider consolidating schools. What would that timeline look like between, I guess, community involvement, doing research, just how feasible and how quickly?
So What we can do or commit to doing over the next couple of weeks is looking at, is there anything that we might recommend or propose that could be done for 18-19? That would, of course, mean we'd come back to you on the 17th. We would look at immediately having community engagement sessions, having you have some kind of a decision about moving forward, not necessarily on the exactly what, but on the how by the end of November, and then continuing to work with whatever communities may be affected throughout the winter and spring, so that some of the issues that you've brought up about what's best for my child, what's best for my community, what would be those things that would be attractive to a variety of parents in a particular area of the city, that we would continue those kinds of conversations. And I think we could also make some proposals about what might be feasible for 1920. But we do, as we look at all of this, what we want to keep in mind is how do we attract a variety of families, a diversity of families, so that we don't have racially isolated and socioeconomically isolated schools? And some of the, what are the factors contributing to that? What do we factor in transportation and a number of other things that could help with that? So I do think if you'd like us to come back with some recommendations for 18-19, and for possibly investigating for 19-20, we could do that. Understanding that we need to really work closely with other partners, other public entities to plan forward-thinking for several years about what would this look like each year for the next several years. Because the other piece is, if we were to close, I mean, one of the things that's, as these factors evolve, we don't necessarily want to let go of sites, given how expensive land in Nashville is now, et cetera. So those are some of the considerations you'd want to look at when we come back, is what would we do? What impact would a consolidation have on a particular community or on a site?
Thank you.
Ms. Pierce.
Sorry, I have a couple more questions. On the different reasons that you were showing that might be attributing to this, it says open enrollment lottery being pushed back. Does that mean for our magnet schools? Does that mean for any school that's in the choice process? What does that mean?
Is it because it's later than private schools, Chris? How about?
I was just getting that it can have an impact on projections, because the lottery will happen largely after projections will be due next year.
And I can just introduce to let you know that so this year, I believe that you'll be receiving it this week in your packet, but is a proposed calendar for the optional school process. Typically, the application process starts in November, and the lottery takes place in early January. However, this year we're recommending that the application process will begin in January, and so the lottery will be in February. And so you'll be getting that calendar draft this week in your updates, I believe, from Dr. Joseph. And so we wanted you to be aware of that change, and what Ryan's referencing is how that will impact projections. We don't think that it will delay us actually being able to develop staff projections. It's just that slight changing in timing could impact the planning we need to do.
Okay. Okay, and then my last.
Projections, is that? And the reason for pushing it back a little bit this year is because we weren't certain, based on the MNPS next process, what the outcome of that would be regarding fifth grade, and if that would have had an impact on the timing and so forth.
Okay. And then I promise you guys it'll be my last. Is it more of an observation that I like to do, looking at cohorts versus straight across? So like when I see this chart that just shows from 2010 to 2017, and this is something that just maybe for a later answer, I kind of drew the diagonal line. Like if I start in kindergarten in 2010 and I dotted out to where these kids are now sixth grade in 2017. And that's where you're in that first block, there's only a 14% loss. And the next block that says MNPS enrollment, So I'm assuming district enrollment is meaning MNPS and charter? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
And then in the next one of just MNPS, if I do that same diagonal line, it is more of the traditional 37% loss that we tend to see. This is going kindergarten to 6th grade, but it also exists going from 9th to 12th grade. So I just didn't know, is this something that's typical? I mean, is this staying with historical trends that we tend to have that kind of it's not a true cohort, but it's entries and exits from when a group of kids starts in kindergarten in our system in 2010, and that same group of kids, by the time they're in 6th grade, we've lost quite a few.
I think we'd need to explore that in more detail
Okay.
and get back with you.
Okay, sounds good.
Anyone else?
So I just would ask that we're clear on what we're asking you to bring back.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Just it sounds like it's typical.
No, not just this, I mean, just in
All of
general,
it.
the bigger
Yeah.
thing. So I think that was, if we could look at the option of consolidating, what would be your recommendation of sort of low-hanging fruit among the schools that we have that are under-enrolled or smaller enrollments? I think in addition to the data that Ms. Pierce mentioned, I would be interested to know what are the opportunities to better leverage not just the resources that we talk about at building, but people, the instructors that are there. I've always had this little funny feeling about the word programming, because I don't know that our parents understand what we mean when we say programming. But, what are the programmatic offerings that are there now, and what would be options that we would present in some sort of a community meeting for the kinds of things that the families would like to see in that new environment. And then, if there are any building naming, don't jump on me, considerations, because if we consolidate schools, somebody's name goes away,
So
potentially.
you mean historically?
Yes, if there are any,
Okay.
if there's any historical significance, if there's a great niece twice removed that's, still around.
Okay. We can do that.
We will look forward to community meetings beginning in October.
After the October 17th board meeting.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
Depending on what we agree to do.
Right, exactly. It's based on the conversation on the 17th, and if it doesn't make sense to move forward with anything, then we don't need to have community meetings, at least at that point.
Okay.
But we'll give you a plan of what that would look like, definitely.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Carlisle.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks, Chris and Ryan.
I don't think our music people are here yet, so we will continue on with TVOS results. Dr. Joseph?
Sure. It's good discussion. Thank you, Dr. Carlisle and team, for your efforts there. And lastly tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about TBOS, and I'll lead into it by saying I just returned from New York today. I went yesterday, and I was there with the team with MNPS, and we worked with the Wallace Foundation, the Council of Great City Schools, the Council of Chief State School Officers, and the Urban League. And the reason we were all there was to discuss how large school districts in 10 states are working with their states to accelerate work happening within schools that need accelerated academic growth. They're trying to redefine the word turnaround to just be more about schools that need academic growth, which are many schools in many urban districts across the country. As I was there, I listened to a number of large districts from states around the country, and I felt good about our approach to the work that's happening here in Nashville. The reason these three organizations representing large urban school districts, state offices of education, and the Urban League convened us is the fact that it's widely recognized, as Dr. Gentry just mentioned in the last conversation, turning around underperforming schools is difficult work, and school districts can't effect change on their own. More often than not, distressed communities increase the likelihood of underperforming schools being present. It takes the state, local school districts, and community partners to effectively collaborate to accelerate learning, particularly in communities where there has been chronic underperformance. And, we've been working closely with our State Department of Education and with leaders from around the state to develop an equity agenda that can help us accelerate our work in schools that need accelerated growth. And we will convene a few times throughout the school year to work on our plans. And at recent board meetings, you've heard from Alignment Nashville and the Pencil Foundation on how we've aligned our work to be clear about the outcomes we want to attain. And we've also collaborated with the Mayor's Office and the Public Education Foundation about the work we're doing in early childhood education and literacy. And in the coming weeks, you'll have an opportunity to hear about our plans as we collaborate to increase outcomes in those areas. Additionally, today, I had an opportunity to meet with representatives from Nashville General Hospital, Meharry Medical College, Tennessee State University, Fisk University, and American Baptist Church to kick off the Congregational Health Education Network, otherwise known as CHEN. And here in Nashville, we have the unique opportunity to convene experts who understand chronic health issues, particularly the health issues of children and families of African-American children, which comprise 43% of our school district. CHEN will connect churches, medical expertise from Nashville General and Meharry Medical College, academic expertise in the healthcare field, and our schools in a way that support our efforts to educate our students and families about healthy living. We also want to inspire more of our students to seek medical professions as a career path, as there are opportunities to expand the work that's happening with STEM in our middle schools and high schools. And I believe that I believe that CHEN will also help us reach the student health outcomes that we've identified in our current strategic plan. And as we increase education, health, and aspirations of our students, we'll increase overall academic achievement. This past year, we've doubled down on our efforts to build strong collaborative partnerships to move key performance indicators. We've had good structures in place in the past, but now we have structures and more aligned key performance indicators. As a board and as an administrative team, we've clarified performance indicators that are important to us, and in the coming days, we'll be setting targets for schools and offices based upon these performance indicators. And I say all of that to lead into Dr. Changa's coming, to say all of this work is interconnected and will result in better performance for schools, because as we talk about growth, there are a lot of factors that impact growth, and we're working to address all of those factors because we should expect growth. And as we talk about this year's TVOS, and one piece of Tennessee's accountability system includes measures of student growth that tie measures to teachers, schools, and district performance. And the TVOS analyses follow the progress of individual students over time to assess systems, schools, and teachers' influences on student progress, and to provide trajectories for individual students towards critical academic benchmarks. And as we discuss our growth from last year to this year, I'd encourage us to take caution as we are not comparing, similar tests. And over time, I do believe that the TVOS data will be able to accurately communicate whether our students are growing from year to year. And I'll ask Dr. Changas to discuss this in more detail. So this time I will turn it over to Dr. Changas, and he will talk to us about TVOS, what it is, what it means for us this year, and what it'll mean as we look down the road.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. And as Dr. Joseph stated, this is a very complex issue, but it gets to the heart of what we do, which is raising academic achievement of our students. And it does follow students over time. But also, as we have seen with the interruption in testing that occurred in 2016, we are also looking at growth over a 2-year period for many of our students as we look at our elementary middle school data. But I'm going to give an overview of our data and just take a minute to remind everyone about the purpose of value-added assessment. It is looking at the relative growth of our students compared to students statewide. So within a subject area, within a grade level for our elementary and middle school grades, we compare our growth in a normative manner to students across the state. With the change in assessments that's occurred, we're essentially looking at our relative ranking of our students compared to where they were ranked 2 years ago when they were taking TCAP achievement tests on the old standards. For end-of-course tests, we have had 2 years of data, but we didn't get on the same standards, but we didn't get the end-of-course data last year until December, so we didn't have as much time as we normally would to respond to that data. What we see in our overall results, which I'll be going through in a little more detail, that our literacy growth, our English language arts performance was essentially equal to what we saw statewide in terms of progress. Our middle school students in science exceeded the state, and in mathematics, our growth was below the state. And I'm going to talk about the 1 to 5 scale in just a minute, but I will say, and we throw the term level 1, level 5. It's a nice, simple scale to use, but it really is about statistical significance and not necessarily educational significance. In a district our size, if we're even a fraction of a point on the NCE scale that's used, the normal curve equivalent scale, below or above the state, we go to a 1 or a 5 typically. The one area that, as we'll see when we look at our data, that does raise some concerns about the magnitude of that difference is in mathematics. But we will go into that in more detail. So I am going to start with the 1 to 5 scale and the results that have been published in the newspapers and will be part of our accountability for this year. The composite takes into account all subject areas, and these results are across grades 5 through 8 with TCAP and 10-ready assessments. We did not, normally we have 4th grade value-added scores. Because of the loss of 2016 data, we no longer had 4th grade this year. We were projecting from 2 years ago where 3rd grade students are this year as 5th graders. And we're making some assumptions that the growth that occurred over that 2-year period was pretty equivalent over those 2 years. But we also include our high school end of course exams in this data. We are level 1 on the composite, which means we're statistically significantly below the state, but we'll look at the magnitude of those differences shortly. As I said, we're level 3, which is essentially equal to the state in literacy, and we're above the state in science, statistically below in literacy and numeracy. And in social studies. In social studies this year only is based on U.S. history at the high school level, as we did not test social studies 2 years ago. So what does that scale mean in other terms? I've stated before that the 1 to 5 scale was designed primarily for teacher evaluation purposes. When we make a decision that a teacher is effective or ineffective based on growth, we want to be confident statistically that that's the case. The scale, though, that's the primary scale in the reporting of value added at grades 5 through 8 is the normal curve equivalent scale. Normal curve equivalents are similar to percentile scores. They range from 1 to 99. The scale is adjusted, though, so that every unit or point on the scale has equal value. So when you subtract the previous year's growth from the current year NCE, the result for the average student statewide, a 0 is the result. That's the statewide average. And as you can see on our scale, we hover around 0 and are very close to 0 in most subject areas. But because of the size of our district, even 0.2 of a point on our composite puts us in the level 1 category. It is statistically significant. But I'll also point out that the state does not use the 1 to 5 scale for assigning letter grades to districts or schools. That's based on the NCE scale. And in the state report card, any score that's within 0.5 NCEs or half a unit of the state average is considered a C. So our growth in English language arts, science, and the composite translate to a C on that scale. The math score, which is almost 1 NCE below the state, would be a D on their scale. The point is we're very close to the state average in most areas. Again, math is the one area that's a little further apart. When I looked at the statewide data by district of our normal curve growth, of our scale score growth at the high schools, in most areas, we're somewhere around the middle of the rankings of the state. But the interesting thing is, because of our size, our growth was actually better in some areas where we had a 1 on that 1 to 5 scale than other districts that were a 3. But because they're much smaller, they're allowed more fluctuation before it becomes statistically significant. I don't want to downplay anything. We're not satisfied with just maintaining, and as Dr. Joseph says, we want to accelerate the growth, but also don't want us overreacting to small differences on these scales. So this is the results for grades 5 through 8. By grade level, you have a table that shows our growth for English language arts, math, science, and the composite. The areas that we see, and historically, growth is shown to be a problem when there's a transition to a new school, which for us occurs at grade 5 at the middle school. And historically, that's been an area where our academic growth has been less than other grades. And we do see that our English language arts and math normal curve equivalent growth is negative, and at a point that is somewhat significantly below the state. However, we had significant positive growth in science relative to past performance. 6th grade, we see non-zero growth at every subject, maintained our own rank relative to the state in English language arts, and made some positive growth relative to students statewide in math and science. 7th grade is a bit of a mixed bag with positive growth in English language arts, slightly negative in math, and negative in science. Negative growth in 8th grade across subjects, although pretty close to the state average in English language arts. And all that translates to growth that is pretty close to the state, except a little bit lower in mathematics. At the high school level, there's a lot of data on this slide, which is looking at here, instead of normal curve equivalents, we use the test scale scores. They do fluctuate a little bit more than normal curve equivalents, but give you a comparable comparison, again with 0 representing the statewide growth in 2017. And we see that our greatest, and I'll point out at the bottom of the graph, you'll see the number of students tested, which is more interesting at the high school end of course level, because there is quite a bit of fluctuation, particularly in mathematics as we move to an integrated math curriculum. So our Algebra 1 scores, which are our highest score, and that's a very significant score and the second highest in the state, but it's only based on 219 students. And I'll say that occurred in charter schools where they had not moved to an integrated math curriculum as quickly. In other areas, the other area where you see a very small number of students tested, integrated math, which had a negative impact. In Algebra 1, as I said, was a positive. Geometry, 522 students, and we scored at the level 3, not statistically significant from different from the state. Positive results in English 1 and English 2. Slightly negative in English 3. English 3 is an area where not all of our students who are 11th graders are tested with an end-of-course exam because they're taking advanced courses, advanced placement, Cambridge, ACE, and are not with courses that are not perfectly aligned with the assessment, so we lose them from our data. But again, the area of concern would be in mathematics, where we see Algebra 2 with significant numbers of students, integrated Math 2 with significant numbers of students that are significantly lower than the state, and also chemistry. So those are the areas that do need to be pursued further. And I'll say that we don't have all of the value-added data information that we normally would at this point. What we have are the summary data for our schools. We do not have student-level rankings at this point, or some of the diagnostic reports that are typically available to us to look at how our economically disadvantaged students performed in terms of growth and other subgroups, to look at how our students performed relative to their prior achievement. Are our highest achieving students making gains comparable to the state? Are our lowest achieving students making comparable gains? That's information that still has not been released, but hopefully will be coming soon, and we'll be diving into that. So the next steps for us are to continue to share the data as it becomes available. We've got a lot of training that's underway to help district and school staff interpret some of the new reporting that's occurring. And I'll say that we're working very closely with curriculum and instruction in this process, and it's not just the state assessment data. We've got training on our measures of academic progress map assessment with our team leaders from, which include instructional coaches, administrators from schools, and teachers next month. The focus being on how to use that data to look at growth of our students over the course of the school year. One of the nice things about the MAP assessment is it does allow us to track progress of our students relative to students nationwide. So we now have growth data and are utilizing that. We will be setting targets on these assessments with the MAP assessment and other more frequent assessments that we think are ambitious but manageable, but realistic, but also that will support the state accountability. And then next week, all of our schools have the opportunity for training on our new formative assessment platform, which is Performance Matters Unify, which will allow teachers to have access to quality item banks that assess students in a variety of formats, including in technology-enhanced items that mirror these state assessments, to construct their own assessments more easily that are aligned to state standards. So the other key point in terms of next steps and what Dr. Joseph has alluded to, we have a lot of work already underway, and our strategic plan strategies align with the work that's necessary to raise student achievement. So with that, I will ask if you have questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Bugs.
So a few years ago, the cut scores were changed on the TCAP test. How would that affect, do the cut scores affect TVOS at all? So for those of you who don't know, cut scores would be maybe 4 years ago, if you would have scored an 80%, you would have been considered proficient on a test. But the next year, the cut score went up to like 85 or 86. So if you scored an 80, you were no longer considered proficient. And I think it actually jumped from being 85 being considered proficient to 90 being proficient. So does that impact the TVOS scores?
Well, that's a great question. It doesn't actually impact TVOS. It will impact the data that we saw with end-of-course exams in terms of percent of students on track or mastered, and the data we're waiting to see in terms of our 3 through 8 assessment. The reason it doesn't affect TVOS is all about relative performance. It's about, basically, we rank students statewide. So that doesn't have an impact. What could potentially have an impact with regard to TVOS is the significant change in the content that's being assessed, the academic standards rather than the performance standards. That being said, it's all about our relative ranking with TVOS.
Ms. Froeg?
I just want to emphasize some points that have already been touched on in this presentation because they are very important, I think, and not to be overlooked in our consideration of the test scores this year. First of all, in general, I've spoken and written about TVOS in the past to the effect that it is a very flawed measure, and it is a volatile, unstable measure, and so it's very difficult to have reliable data without at least 3 years of performance data to consider. It is particularly flawed with regard to teacher evaluations, and it was created by William Sanders based on agriculture, not education. It was based on the genetic and reproductive trends in cows. You can't make this stuff up. And it's also a proprietary measure, which means that it is owned by what Bill Sanders' company, SAS, and it's sort of a black box. Nobody really knows the formulation. So there are just all kinds of problems in general with the TVOS. And of course, as you mentioned, we don't have 3 years of data. We didn't have any testing in 2015-16, so we're starting fresh. But then on top of that, we've got Tennessee Ready, which is an entirely different type of test than TCAP. Both in the type of test, the platform that was used, and the fact that it is based on very different standards this year. There's a local blogger, Andy Spears, who wrote a great blog, I thought, on this topic that was called Apples to Oranges, and he made some good points I think that we should consider when we're looking at these scores. He said that researchers who study value-added modeling are highly skeptical of the reliability of comparisons between different types of tests when it comes to generating value-added scores. And simply put, when you move to a different test, you get a different value-added results. That decreases or eliminates the reliability of those results. So the long and short of all of this is, I think that first of all, this is the devil we have to deal with. In theory, growth should be a better measure than achievement, which largely reflects socioeconomics. But I think in considering these scores, we have to take them with a giant grain of salt on a yearly basis, the growth measures. And then in this particular instance, I think it's highly unfair for us to be rated on growth based on just totally different tests and different standards. And we're not really going to know anything without a few more years of data. And then the other point I guess I'd like to raise is that when we're looking at our performance as a district, we really need to be looking at a variety of measures. This can be one of them, since it's the best we have with regard to growth. But, we need to be considering a variety of measures to truly assess where we are. So, and I'll just say, too, apples to oranges may be the wrong analogy. It's more like apples to bowling balls, probably. We're looking at all these tests. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frog. And I agree, Dr. Joseph, that it would be nice to have a presentation where we can see once all the data is in, and I know it's incomplete at this point, but once we have the data in, if we could have a presentation where we do look at our schools and our students in terms of multiple data points, that would be helpful to us and our district.
Yes, and I will say that at the school level, we do look at multiple data points when you're making a decision about any child, and we've built systems to try to support that. But we are held accountable for certain assessments, and there wasn't a question in Ms. Frogg's comments, but I will say I said to the board, I think 2 years ago, as we were getting ready to make this transition, that there were some concerns about this shift, because historically we've changed tests a number of times, but normally they were pretty minor in terms of the standards when we made those changes, and this was a pretty significant shift. That being said, I am a believer in growth models relative to how we used to rank schools, just based on percentile scores, highly correlated to socioeconomic status. But we have to look at multiple measures, and we have to be, again, not overemphasize small differences in what we're seeing here.
Yeah, Ms. Hunter.
Just thought question. A variety of measures or multiple data sets, wouldn't that mean like more testing? Or do we have something? Because that's what it sounds like.
We are. I think what I'm referring to are we have several existing tests that are being used for different purposes. But when our teachers are using multiple data points, they're using universal screening data. They're using text level assessments in the lower grades. They're using our MAP assessments to monitor student progress, and the statewide data on top of that. But I'm not going to propose any additional tests, but we also have projections data based on historical data that we use to kind of monitor if our students on their interim benchmarks are keeping up with their past history? Are we accelerating that growth? So I think we're talking about just the presentation of existing data in a manageable format.
Yeah, Ms. Pierce, and then we'll.
Okay, I have just several little questions and then a bigger one. So on the science scores, have the science standards changed, or are they going to be changing?
They changed in the past year, but they did not change on the 2017 assessment. I think that actually occurs this coming year.
Okay.
And I will double check, but my understanding is that they change in the coming year slightly.
Okay. And then who still takes Algebra 2? Was that also just charters, or were some of the high schools still phasing out? There's still some phasing out.
I will have to probably get back to you on exactly which students we're talking about. I know we're in the process of changing the curriculum there, but I don't know if there's anyone that can speak specifically to that. But we will get you a breakdown by school. We actually have that information now in terms of the number of students.
Over 4,000, so it's got to be
Well, I
several.
will say all of my high schools were still taking Algebra 2 because they were phasing out. In fact, many of them are
phasing
just
in.
now, we're phasing in integrated math. Many of them are either taking bridge math now because there is not something for them to take between this and, because integrated math 3, integrated math 1, 2, and 3 are kind of a mashup of the algebras, geometry, a little trig, it's a little bit of everything.
Right.
So because integrated math 3 wasn't really ready for them, a lot of Algebra 2 students from last year are taking a filler math class now or an elective.
Okay. And then in terms of the relativeness and the multiple data points, so if TVOS is just the state growth relative comparisons, and MAP is national. I know last year we just did MAP reading, but we did see a dip between the fall and spring. Does that correlate with what we're seeing with the TVOS, or are they just too, what do you see when you look at those?
So last spring, when we shared the MAP data, I stated that I had a concern that, and not just based on my own feelings, but talking to a number of people, that there might have been a fatigue factor involved because of the test was administered right after the state assessments, plus the fact that we had a shorter amount of instructional time between the winter and spring tests than we saw nationally. We will be sharing the fall MAP data with you very shortly that we're just compiling right now. But I can say that we saw our national percentiles in reading bounce back up very close to what we saw in the winter, which does support the idea that there probably was a bit of a fatigue factor in the spring. Now, whether that fatigue factor had some impact on our TVOS data in the spring, this was a longer test and it was spread out over a longer period of time. There's a certain skill to test taking and stamina that's involved that we have to work through, especially with longer reading passages and so forth. Going forward, though, we now have standards in place. We will have growth data in the future that is based on the same types of assessments and same standards, which I think will be closer to an apples-to-apples comparison. But the bottom line is I don't think that the decline we saw in the MAP assessment was reflective of a decline relative to the nation based on what I'm seeing this fall.
Okay, and then I have just all the schools, and for me this is just a litmus test. This is not what I tell you rank a school on. It is a data point, but it's an important one and one that I do think we should pay attention to. So on the various schools that did have 5s or, in some of the literacy or numeracy or both, are we tapping on those schools to share their success or kind of their approach? Because you might have a school that was a 1 in literacy but a 5 in math. So, are y'all digging into knowing what did they do with math at their schools last year?
Yeah. Well, that's a bigger question than Paul Changus,
Right,
because
or
I do
just-
know that sharing of best practices is something we certainly want to do. But my only caution is, and I do have, our complete data, but my caution is not to focus so much on the level 1 to 5 scale, but on the actual normal curve equivalent and scale score growth. That is reflective of the magnitude of student growth rather than the statistical significance. Now, a lot of times those overlap. The schools that are doing real well in terms of NCE growth and scale score growth are typically going to be the 5 schools, but we will be digging into that data.
Yes, I just wanted to say that we definitely will be giving schools opportunities to share best practices. That's something that they benefit from greatly. We have several structures that will allow for that. The curriculum instruction update meetings would be one. Schools also meet in lots of other ways, such as literacy teacher development specialists meet together, principals through their network meetings and quadrant meetings, and so certainly plan to leverage the sharing of best practices.
Okay. Yeah, and I have to make the observation that by and large, the charters killed it with lots of 5. So I know that once the achievement comes in, that could, it's a picture, it's a window, but I hope that we will include them in sharing those best practices.
Ms. Buggs? Oh, okay. All right, anybody else? Okay, our students are here, so let's go ahead and adjourn. Ms. Buggs, if you'll adjourn us, and then we'll have our, Dr. Joseph, do you want to introduce the students before we adjourn?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Just really quickly, so again, a group of Metro Nashville Public School students traveled to Charlottesville, Virginia, to share love and support with the city. The song "We Need Each Other Right Now" was written by gospel artist B.B. Winans and produced by Cedric Caldwell, a Grammy Award winner and music teacher at Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School. Cedric recruited Yarbrion Chambers from Pearl Cone, Elijah Simmons from Pearl Cone, Trent McQuarrie from Overton, Jess Clements from Overton, and Tiana Gentry from Hillsborough to create a music video that was shared online. Our students just returned this week from Charlottesville, where they performed with students at Charlottesville High School. They created a video that was shared at a benefit concert headlined by Justin Timberlake, David Matthews Band, Pharrell Williams, Chris Stapleton, and Ariana Grande. They continue to earn national acclaim. Now, these students have been great ambassadors for our district and city. The city leaders who were there sang their praises and were very thankful. At the last meeting, we saw them on video, but tonight we have them as our very special guest in person. So at this point, we'll ask them to stand up. Okay.
Before we adjourn, I just have to say, I'm so excited to be pregnant right now and send my kids to Pearl Cone. I hope that at least one of them is musically inclined. I'm so excited. Right. Student athletes, it just make my heart smile. You guys are awesome. Be there, know for their business. This meeting is adjourned.
We can go out there and sit. Yes.
Today, we have a defining moment that will stick in our hearts and our minds.
Tell me when they hit play. They're going to sit out here.
Oh, they're singing to this.
Cedric, tell me when to hit play.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And it's the fact that you took time to not only understand what was happening to us, but you took the time to stand up, to say, I want to stand with you, and I want to hold you, and I want to help you as you start to heal from the events that have occurred. So your defining moment will overshadow everything else that has occurred in this community. So not only do we welcome you, but the entire community welcomes you. And thank you for standing with us. Thank you for singing with us. Thank you for making us feel so good. We're glad to have you here.